so lovable and gave so much color to this particular show. Hi everyone, this is me and welcome again to my channel, Fanitation. I'm very excited to do today's review. It is my #1 undisputed heavyweight champion of all James Jirayu Lakorns, Neung Dao Fah Diew, or One Land, One Sky. Neung Dao Fah Diew was first broadcast in 2018. It stars James Jirayu as Khanthong when he's a man and Khantin when he's a eunuch. It also stars Taew Natapohn as Magma and Aum Atichart as Payatak. It was based on a story and script written by Wanawat, and I will talk a little bit more about her later. Neung Dao Fah Diew is a brilliant epic drama fit into a very compact 17 episodes in the original run. From the very opening track of the song Huajai Diew Gan, or One Heart by Mag, the Dark Romance, you can tell that this is a deeply patriotic show and is absolutely not frivolous. The producer of TV Scene said that the script had to be revised a few times because it is very difficult to write about monarchs. There are many sensitivities and challenges, but my goodness, what a fantastic job they did. It is set in the 1700s during the last days of the Kingdom of Ayodhya until its fall on the 7th of April 1767. This was during the reign of King Greta, the last king of Ayodhya. His kingdom was embroiled in many wars with the Anwar, or what we know today as modern-day Myanmar. The Anwar troops were recalled to fight the war with China, but not before Ayodhya was completely ransacked and destroyed. So this gave Payatak, the governor of Tak, the opportunity to galvanize and unify the ties and found the new kingdom of Thonburi in 1768. Although he started out as a merchant, the people came to respect him so much that they started to call him King Taksin, and this is the point in history where Neung Dao Fah Diew ends. I won't go into the politics because I think this is quite a serious matter that is more suitable for an academic discussion. Some of the characters were also based on real historical characters. For example, the Queen Consort Khun Vimon Pakdi. There's also Payatak, played by Aum Atichart, and Long Pichai Asa, played by James Jirayu, and I had to mention these two because look at them in their costumes. The settings, the battles, the costumes, all bear TV Scene's trademark attention to detail, so no more needs to be said here. There were also real battles and events reflected in the show. For example, the breaking pots incident that has become very much a part of Thai oral history. In this particular incident, Payatak is leading his men to conquer Chantaburi, and he tells all his soldiers to destroy all their food and all their cooking utensils because they will be eating their food the next day in Chantaburi, meaning they were going to be victorious. This is very meaningful and emotive for the Thais and very touching, which we can all understand. This is not a purely historical documentary. Instead, it is an absolutely riveting and enjoyable drama because of the added layer of spice in the form of our 6 Spice Girls. They are the Turkish eunuchs or Khanti. There's Okprasi Khantin, played by James J. Khun Jitjai Pak, played by Pet Takrit. Luang Si Manorat, played by Boy Pasakon. Khun Rak Tewa, played by Patrick Nipat. Khun Thep Chamnan, played by Pan Thanapon, and Khun Thepraksa, played by Taew Natapohn. That was quite a lot for me to remember, but I really need to name them all because they were so lovable and gave so much color to this particular show. They are central to the story in Neung Dao Fah Diew. Turkish eunuchs in the Siamese court were a little known fact even to Thai audiences who, like most of us, are more used to stories about Chinese eunuchs. Neung Dao Fah Diew does a brilliant job of moving between very serious subjects like war and politics and intrigue and espionage and the human drama, relationships between people and families, court politics, and a sweet little romance. This gave the series many light-hearted touches and levity. The historical part of the drama feeds our brains, and the friendship, loyalty, patriotism, love and loss and romance feed our hearts and souls. The painful parts in this show are very painful, particularly episode 10 of the original run, which kind of makes me tear up sometimes just thinking about it. But the funny parts are hilarious. And of course, Thailand is not squeamish about gender bend stories, so the portrayal of the Khanthis was absolutely wonderful. They were treated with great humor and also respect. They were not one uniformly campy group with no brains. They each have a very different personality and distinct mannerisms. Luang Si Manorat, who is the main rival to Okprasi Khantin, is the most manly, but he gets caught up in all this politics and intrigue because of his ambition. Then we have Khun Raktewa, who is the accountant, and he is a little bit more campy, but he has a heart of gold. You know, he's a very decent man, and all he wants is to find true love. Then we have the two younger ones, so Khun Tepchamnan and Khun Tepraksa. These two are a little bit more of a caricature. They will suck up to anybody they think will further their means, and they're just two little horny bunnies running around trying to hook up with other men. So the Khanthis are very integral to the story, but they provide us with some of the best comedic moments as well. And some of my favorite moments were between two of the most hunky macho men in this show whom I shipped together, which were Okprasi Khantin and Tanchakun Kampeng. So Taew Suriyon, who plays Okprasi Kampeng, was an absolute marvel in this role. He has such good comedic timing, and you know, he's such a macho man with his muscles, and you know, he's the Minister for Defense. His chemistry with Okprasi Khantin is just comedy genius. I would go as far as to say that their chemistry puts up a good challenge to the chemistry between Khanthong and Magma. So Neung Dao Fah Diew uses Boran language or ancient language, which was very difficult for the actors. The director and the producer insisted on absolute perfection, so whenever the actors made any mistake, they had to retake. So the vocabulary, usage, syntax and pronunciation were completely different from modern Thai. So for those of you who are learning Thai like me, it is of absolutely no use to you because you can never use any of these words. Now Taew is very gifted at languages and accents, so she picked it up a lot quicker. But James had a lot of difficulty, and there was a particularly traumatic experience that he has talked about many times. He had only 2 lines, but it took them 3 hours to film that scene. The other thing that is really mind-boggling in this show are the names and the titles. So every person has multiple names and multiple titles depending on which part of the show you're in and who they're talking to and what their relationship is. The Jirayu home drama subbing team actually subbed this show 3 times. The first time was when the show was being broadcast. Now, I had not discovered the magical world of James G at that point, so I was not involved. But I know that they tried to put out the subs very quickly, and it was very challenging because the language is not modern Thai. They had to figure out titles, they had to figure out historical events, names of real people, etc. So after the first broadcast, the team reviewed the subtitles to try and clean up the titles and the events and things like that. But even then, it was not enough. It was so complicated that when I came on board, my friend Greta and I actually went through the English subs again, and we really scrubbed them through. We tried to make sure that all the names were accurate and consistent throughout the show. It was really quite a back-breaking task. So if you want to see really good subs with a lot of effort put in it to be accurate and to convey the real meaning of the show, you can access it at Jirayu Home Drama Facebook page. The show also introduced the concept of Kollabot to Thai audiences. Now, the author, Wanawat, said that she wanted to show the genius and ingenuity of Thais in using their reading and writing system to form their own code. In its simplest form, a Kollabot could just be a simple code between 2 people so they could write letters that nobody else could understand. But Kollabot could also be extremely complicated, involving many layers of encoding, such that they could be used in battle and for espionage. Kollabot plays a very important role in Neung Dao Fah Diew, and one of Magma's talents is that she's very good at Kollabot. But she cannot beat Okprasi Khantin, who is really the king of Kollabot. Now we come to the actors. James Jirayu was just magnificent in this role. It is my favorite role of James to date. I think he is the most handsome, in Pariwarada, but he is the most beautiful in Neung Dao Fah Diew. I would even say that he was the most beautiful character in the entire show. Sorry, ladies. As the man Khanthong, he is sent to a monastery and then he is sent on a mission by a secret benefactor, and this is how he ends up becoming a eunuch in the palace. He has to play a man's man when he is Khanthong. There are many fight scenes and there is no doubt about his ability, his skills and his strength. But he also needs to disguise himself as a eunuch, as Okprasi Khantin. And in this latter role, he needs to be very convincing because his life literally depends on how successful he is at pulling off this disguise. And James does it with such delicacy. He doesn't overplay it and become super campy. You can practically see him suppress the man and put on this veneer of the eunuch. As Khanthong and Khantin, he is torn between doing his patriotic duty but also wanting to protect the woman he loves, and he does this duality very well. The script is wonderfully written and James really does justice to the role. The author, Wanawat, said that she had actually been inspired by James because she had seen him in the Jutatep series. She wasn't sure whether he would really end up playing it because very often it depends on an actor's schedule. But you know, thank goodness for us that James' schedule was free for this show. A side story that is really silly but which made me very happy. Khun Wanawat, the author, once liked and retweeted a very silly tweet of mine during the airing of Le Ban Pakan when I said that Taew Natapohn's earrings look like Krispy Kreme donuts. Yep. Sometimes I question my life. Taew plays Magma, who is the daughter of a paper mill owner. Now, she was given the name Magma by the queen consort, Krom Khun Vimon Pakdi, and Magma is actually the queen's own name. So this shows how close their relationship is, and this is why Magma can run all over the palace by herself. Magma is always running away from the suitors that her father tries to match her with, and she's kind of a tomboy. And this plays off very nicely with Okprasi's delicacy and femininity. She's feisty and she can mostly fend for herself. The only times that she needs to be saved is when she really gets into bad situations, when she's kidnapped or when her family's house is burnt down. So it's not because she did something stupid to get his attention that ends up with him having to save her, and that I really liked. So those of you who've seen my video on Le Ban Pakan may have guessed by now that I'm not terribly impressed by Taew's acting in the few shows that I've seen her in, but I like her here as Magma. I think she is quite natural and cute and unaffected. I liked the chemistry between James and Taew in this show, maybe because romance was really not the main point of this story. Their relationship started out a little bit frostily, they're not very sure of each other, and then they slowly get to know each other. They become friends and collaborators on the Kollabot. They actually develop a very deep relationship before they start to fall in love. And their love story sort of accompanies the main narrative of the drama rather than the drama twisting and turning in order to fit the romance. So till the end, their love story was sweet and touching and kind of comedic. It was a wonderful extra layer that never overshadowed the rest of the drama. So this to me was James and Taew's best collaboration. But I think 3 is enough. I have to mention one more character whom I absolutely loved, and that was Ainan, or Tanchao Khun Jitjai Pak, played by Pet Takrip. He is Khanthong's friend Nan, who unwittingly gets dragged into this whole palace saga and has to become a eunuch with Khanthong. He is more fun-loving than Khanthong because he doesn't have the weight and the burden of this mission on his shoulders. But he is actually very critical to the mission because if he slips up, both of them are dead. So Pet plays Khun Jitjai Pak to the hilt. He is a man when he needs to be, but at other times he is campy and flirts unashamedly with the ladies, and he is just a joy to watch. But he is the pillar of strength for Khanthong because he knows all of Khanthong's secrets, and he is the only one Khanthong can really rely on in the palace. And the success of their mission really depends on both of them executing everything without a single mistake. And that is what Nan does right to the very end. With his eye on the mission, he gets it done. And it is truly the most heartbreaking scene of this entire show. Nan is the epitome of the loyal, trusted, unwavering and patriotic friend right to the very end. What a fantastic portrayal by Pat. But there are so many other people that we should talk about, but there just isn't time. So you will just have to watch the show in order to see how wonderful this entire cast of actors did. Now, Neung Dao Fah Diew didn't do that well when it was first broadcast, and I think there are a couple of reasons for this. First of all, it came on the heels of Bupe Saniwat, which was a really huge breakthrough hit. And there are some things that are similar about the two shows. It is also a Boran or ancient Thai show. The language is kind of similar. But the difference is that Bupe Saniwat was actually set in the golden age of Ayodhya. And it is a lot more light-hearted than Neung Dao Fah Diew. Whereas Neung Dao Fah Diew is a lot heavier and more serious, dealing with the fall of Ayodhya. And maybe audiences who had loved Bupe Saniwat were not quite ready to see this turn of events so quickly. The second thing was that the timing of the show was quite unfortunate because it clashed with a very major sports event. I think it was the Thai women's volleyball team getting into the World Championship finals or something like that. So the schedule for Neung Dao Fah Diew was very odd. Some episodes were only like 20 minutes long, and then some episodes were like 1 hour long. It was not what we expect from a drama, which is to be regularly scheduled and for a fixed amount of time. But this is one of those shows that I feel improves upon watching. Neung Dao Fah Diew, like Krongkam, which I mentioned in another video, is a drama you need to pay attention to because it is so detailed and there is so much going on. And the more you watch, the more you see. So while it didn't do that well in the ratings first time round, when it was rerun more than a year later, it actually beat new dramas in the ratings. And I think this speaks to the longevity of a show like Neung Dao Fah Diew, that you can probably watch it a few years from now and it will not feel dated and old. I mentioned earlier in the video about the opening soundtrack, but there are also two other songs in the show. The first one is sung by James and it is called Gap or Keep. I love this song so much because it tells you in a song the whole story about Oprasi Khantin, how he needs to keep his real self inside because he has a bigger mission to fulfill, and how he cannot just be like any other man there and declare his love to Magma. It is such a beautiful song and I feel that it suits James' voice so well. The other song is called Fanciful Heart by Klom Orawee. This is Magma's theme and it is about a young girl's wistful dreams about the man that she is falling in love with. I also highly recommend that you read my friend Greta's coffee talks on Neung Dao Fah Diew on Lovefia's blog, the links of which I will also put in the description box. Greta has a fantastically analytical mind and she breaks down the stories in a much deeper way than I could ever be capable of. So that brings my review of Neung Dao Fah Diew to an end. And it is the James Lakorn I like the best, which means that the one that I like the least is also a James and Taew vehicle, and that is Game Saneha. That will be an interesting review to do because I know how much the fandom loves that particular drama. I'll try to be gentle, but no promises. Thank you for all your support and for watching so far. I hope you come back for my next video, which will be on Game Saneha. Till then, please take care and stay safe everyone. Bye!